everyone, today I wanted to talk about this foundation. This is the Revlon Colorstay foundation. I used one for normal to dry skin in the shade 1110 Ivory. The shade selection for this is absolutely superb. This is their paler shade, but they do have some deeper shades as well. I believe they actually go quite dark in this range, so even if you're not as pale as I am, you should still be able to find something that matches you from the Colorstay selection. I've been using this for a few years actually, since they had the much older formula that didn't have the new pump on it, and I actually thought that that one was okay, but I definitely didn't wear it on an everyday basis. The older formula was quite thick, it was quite difficult to blend. I had to really spend some time blending it in with my skin, but this is of course the newer formulation and this is so much better, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, as I've mentioned, the pump on the bottle makes everything so much easier, but also they have changed the formula of this as well, so it's a much lighter texture than it used to be. It's much easier to apply onto the skin and it doesn't feel like it's clogging your skin. I've got some footage of me putting my makeup on this morning before I went out and it just went on so easily, even though, as you can see in the footage, my skin is very dry at the moment. It's definitely more red than it usually is, and I've also got some hormonal breakouts on my chin as well because of PCOS. Despite all of those things, after I put my primer on, this foundation went on really effortlessly. My favourite ways to apply this foundation are either with a damp makeup sponge like this one from Real Techniques, which I use all the time, or maybe a more dense brush like the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, or this more dense kabuki brush that I got from eBay, just depending on the kind of finish and the kind of coverage you want. I usually like to go in with my damp sponge and I start out by just putting an even layer all over my face, and then as you can see in the footage, I will just build up more foundation on my cheeks and around my jaw, just in those areas where my skin is a bit more flushed or where I've got my breakouts and I just need an extra bit of coverage. And as you can see in the cutaway, today I just went to town. I just kept building up layers because I wanted to see how much you really could build it up. It claims to be a medium to full coverage foundation, so I wanted to see if I could build it to that point. There's some parts of my face now that will only have one layer of foundation, but definitely on my cheeks, especially this part here, which is quite blotchy, I've probably built up 4 or 5 layers just on this small section here, and it's absolutely fine to do that. It doesn't feel cakey. No matter how much you put on, it doesn't feel like your skin is clogged up. I'm very happy with this level of coverage and how it evened my skin, but it does claim to be a medium to full coverage foundation. I personally don't see it as full coverage. It's definitely medium coverage, but it's not full coverage by any means. You can still see some blotchiness on my skin, you can see all my freckles, which I actually quite like, you can see some redness from my spots coming through as well, but it has done a really good job at evening everything out. Now when I'm filming this, I've actually had the foundation on for a few hours and it looks pretty much exactly the same as it did when I left the house 3 hours ago. That's actually why I wear this foundation so often, because I find that it just doesn't move throughout the day. It doesn't fade away, it doesn't break down, it's sweat resistant, it's humidity resistant. I wouldn't say it's waterproof by any means, but it does hold up very well when it's raining. Because it is quite long wearing, it does kind of cling a bit to some of the drier parts of my skin. If your skin is any drier than mine, you might not get on with this because it does kind of gather around really dry areas on the skin. So maybe if you've got eczema or psoriasis or any kind of flakiness, any patches of really dry skin, this might not be the one for you. I would probably recommend the Maybelline Dream Satin Foundation, which I've also done a review on very recently. I'll leave the link to that in the description box. So as I said, the foundation's been on for a few hours at this point, but I'm also going to do another check-in this evening as well so that you can see how it wears throughout the day. So I'll see you later on. Hey, so it's early evening now. The foundation has actually been on for about 7 or 8 hours at this point, and it's Sunday evening and all I want to do is take off my makeup, put on my pyjamas and watch Netflix for a bit. So that's what I intend on doing as soon as I finish this. I think the foundation still looks pretty good considering the amount of time it's been on, and I haven't touched it up during the day. I do think it's gathered a little bit just around here. This is where I was building it up quite a lot because I've got all my spots there. Also, it's a little bit uncomfortable where I've built it up on my cheeks as well, but that was to be expected because I really wanted to see how much I could build it up and how much coverage I could get out of it. So I would keep that in mind. If you intend on building up quite a lot of layers every time you wear this, that is going to affect the wear time and how it performs. On more natural days where I don't wear as much, it doesn't feel uncomfortable as quickly as it did today. But overall, it is pretty good and it is very long lasting. From a distance, it probably still looks very similar to how it looked when I applied it this morning. It's only when you get really close up that you can see that it has kind of worn away a bit, and you can see a bit on my cheek where I was just kind of absent-mindedly rubbing my cheek during the day and a bit of it's worn off, but from a distance I'm sure everything looks absolutely fine. I would definitely recommend this for anyone who has normal to dry skin, maybe some pigmentation or some acne that they want to cover. I probably wouldn't recommend this to anyone who is expecting full-on maximum coverage because this won't give you that. Even when you build it up quite a bit, you can still see a little bit of redness coming through. It's great if you want something that's very long-lasting, that you don't have to worry about touching up as much, which is why I love to wear this to work. And of course I would recommend it to any pale people who can't find a foundation that matches them. I know how frustrating it is. And that's all my thoughts on this foundation. I hope I've covered everything. If you have any more questions, then as always, just leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I make new videos every Sunday at 9 AM. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!